The following is a special presentation of Chat News.
Good evening, I'm Dan Reinish. This is Chat News Decision 2019. Thank you for choosing to watch Chat Television tonight. We appreciate you being with us. An epic battle for power has played out over the last 28 days in our province. The fight for control of Alberta's future has been plagued by negativity, personal attacks, and scandal.
Rachel Notley gave Justin Trudeau a blank political check. The NDP sold our province out to Justin Trudeau.
Mr. Kenney also says that somehow he's going to be able to build a pipeline. Well, he won't. He will stomp his feet, he will throw a tantrum, but that, my friends, does not build a pipeline.
Going into this 30th election in the history of Alberta, Rachel Notley hoping her party isn't one and done. But the NDP has trailed in the polls throughout this election. Notley has tried to capitalize on the controversy surrounding Jason Kenney and the UCP. In the final days of the campaign, Notley warned Albertans voting for Kenney was risky. But Kenney has maintained the lead despite an investigation into the 2017 leadership race and revelations of racist and homophobic remarks from his candidates. And Kenney is confident, given the state of the economy, Albertans are ready to return to their conservative roots. We will be keeping you up to date throughout the night with results, reaction, and analysis. Our reporters are standing by at the campaign headquarters with some of our local candidates, and we will check in with them shortly. But first, it seems this campaign is one where Albertans want to ensure their voices are heard. The numbers of people who turned up in record amount for the advance poll probably will lead into numbers today that will turn into record voter turnout as well. A record number of people did vote in advance polls. Over the 5 days, almost 700,000. 696,000 ballots were cast, 3 times the amount seen during the 2015 election. This year, Elections Alberta allowed advance voting at any polling station in the province. 223,000 vote anywhere ballots were cast. Now, those votes won't be counted until tomorrow afternoon, so they could play a big factor in tonight's vote. So how did we get here? In 2015, it was the outcome not even the pollsters saw coming. The NDP did the unthinkable, putting an end to 44 years of conservative rule.
I don't know. I think we might have made a little bit of history tonight.
Albertans handed the NDP a majority government. The Tories finished third, and leader Jim Prentice immediately resigned. It marked the end of the Progressive Conservatives as they ultimately merged with the Wild Rose to form the UCP, led by Jason Kenney. The elation the NDP felt that night was short-lived. Their 4 years in power have been turbulent. In 2016, a wildfire swept through Fort McMurray, prompting the largest evacuation in Canadian history. The flames ravaged homes and businesses, causing $3.7 billion in damage. At the same time, Alberta was still reeling from low oil prices. The NDP announced a royalty review, creating more uncertainty. Thousands of jobs in the energy sector were lost. With no way to get Alberta oil to the markets, recovery has been slow. Multiple delays in getting a pipeline built has many losing hope.
The attitudes are bad too. They're poor. Everybody's kind of a lot more negative than I've ever seen before.
Tonight, we will be closely following the results in our 2 local ridings. In Cypress Medicine Hat, incumbent Drew Barnes is seeking his 3rd term. Barnes is running against Peter Mueller for the NDP. Former teacher is running in his first election. It's also the first election campaign for Colette Smithers with the Alberta Party. Kerry Blackear is representing the Alberta Advantage Party, while Anwar Cameron is running for the Liberals. There is no incumbent in Brooks Medicine Hat, as this is a brand new riding. The boundaries were redrawn in 2017. So now the district is made up of the entire Newell County and stretches down Highway 1 to Bassano. It also includes the northern portions of Cypress County and Medicine Hat. Within our city, The riding runs southeast along Highway 1, then northeast along 41A, then east along the South Saskatchewan River. There are 6 candidates running in this riding. Michaela Glasgow is hoping to win her first election. The former press secretary for Drew Barnes is running for the UCP. The Sano Town councillor Lynn McWilliam is representing the NDP. Jim Black, a former police officer and teacher, is hoping to pick up a seat for the Alberta Party. Todd Beasley, the former UCP member who was kicked out of caucus, is running as an independent. And Jamal Farah is running for the Liberals. We'll be bringing you results throughout the night for our local riding, as well as following some key races across the province. At any time, you can log on to our website. That is Chat News Today for real-time election results. You can click on this interactive map or search by individual riding. This results page is also tracking who is leading or elected. Now, joining me tonight to help with analysis is Barry Finkelman. Barry has worked behind the scenes in municipal, provincial, and federal politics for over 50 years. He's a former newspaper columnist, educator, businessman, administrator, having retired as CEO of Medelta Potteries 2 years ago. Now, as we start, first off, so glad you're here with us tonight.
Thank you. Nice to be here, Dan.
Is this going to be a predictable or interesting evening?
It's going to be an interesting evening. There are several factors which we have to look at. One is that it's been a very bitter campaign when it comes to schoolyard scrapping.
Okay.
It's a very unusual campaign. The second thing is that we have all of these advanced polls that won't be counted until tomorrow, and even if we have a similar turnout to what we had last time, let's say we have 57% of the population turning out, we're still looking at a significant number of people, and the 232,000 votes that won't be counted until tomorrow represent about 15% of the voting power. Now, in a case where you've got a small lead, let's say 500 or so, they're going to have a significant effect on that.
Yes.
So this is part of the change that we're seeing this evening. It's unusual. In every other past year, we've been able to declare the winner within about half an hour after we start the returns. Returns will be starting about 9 o'clock, I assume. So 9:30, 10 o'clock. When we go off the air tonight, I believe we still won't have a very clear answer on a lot of the ridings.
Well, who knows? Maybe we won't go off the air then. Okay, so we've talked about the nastiness of this campaign. Has that translated into the local campaign? How have the Medicine Hat ridings played off each other, and how have the candidates been treating each other this campaign?
Well, in general, the candidates have been rather cordial towards each other. I think that proves that we are Medicine Hat. We're a unique part of the country, and we don't like to be at each other's throats. That saying, the UCP candidates did not turn up at the Education Forum, which is a bad optic, really.
Yeah.
It's something that we would like to see when there's a proper opportunity for the public to interact with them at a forum. We'd like to see all of the candidates there, and every other candidate was there. So both Michaela Glasgow and Drew Barnes turned down the chance to be at the Education Forum, even though they had already said yes initially.
Was that due to the Alberta Teachers Association coming out with a comment on Mr. Kenny? Was that why the UCP candidates chose to not go to that?
Well, with all due respect, I don't think that you can use that type of reason not to turn out. I mean, this is an election.
Yeah.
There are ups and downs constantly throughout an election, and you have to be the bigger person. And if something is not going your way, well, you simply step in there and you change the narrative at that point.
Okay. At any time, has any candidate in Medicine Hat, Brooks, Medicine Hat, Cypress, has any of them changed the narrative during this election at any time? Has anybody stepped up? I
don't see any great changes. Michaela is brand new to the election process, and I think that she's been learning, and it's been interesting, but nothing really significant other than the party line from her. Drew has been working as a financial critic for a long time, and he's a very good speaker. He's quite glib. And I think he's been able to at least push back the shots that have been directed towards him. But I haven't seen any extraordinary outcomes over the last couple of weeks. I was hoping to see some policy issues, some body blows, if that I haven't seen any in this campaign.
We have so much to talk about, but we're in no rush. So thanks for now. We'll have some more questions, more conversation later. This is Chat News Decision 2019. We appreciate you being with us tonight. We're going to take a break right now. Back with more election coverage in just a moment. Good evening. Welcome back. This is Chat News Decision 2019. I'm Dan Reinish. We're glad that you're watching Chat Television this evening, and we'll be with you throughout the evening. Right now, let's head out to Scott Roblin, Scott is covering the Drew Barnes candidacy at the Medicine Hat Lodge this evening. So let's go to Scott right now. Scott.
Yeah, it's a hopeful, optimistic atmosphere here at the Medicine Hat Lodge for what has been converted into UCP headquarters for Drew Barnes and Michaela Glasgow. So optimistic, in fact, that they doubled the size of this room probably about 20 minutes ago just to incorporate all the people that they're expecting to have here tonight, hoping to celebrate a UCP victory. Now, speaking about Drew Barnes, he, of course, is looking for his third term as Cypress Medicine Hat MLA, but it's going to be his first with the UCP. If he's elected. Last time around with the Wild Rose Party, he got in with 54% of the votes. And the biggest thing for him so far has been door knocking, as the organizers and and event chair people have said that he's been door knocking 6 hours a day and is hoping that will turn into good election results tonight. And as you can see behind me, the crowd is starting to gather here. It was about 5 minutes ago they started to be let in, and they're slowly building. And of course, the UCP platform really devoted to the economy, pipelines, getting jobs here to the southeastern corner of the province, and also the carbon tax, which is going to be their #1 priority if they do get elected tonight. And as for Drew Barnes and Michaela Glasgow, might be a little while until they come around here. In terms of the event organizers, they did say that they would be here after the polls close at 8 o'clock, so we'll have to see what time they'll get here tonight. But like I said, growing crowd, optimistic atmosphere here at Medicine Hat Lodge, and we'll have to see what the night will bring. Dan?
Okay, thank you very much, Scott. Scott mentioned that the ballroom is doubling in size now with more people expected, and you can see behind Scott that they were rolling in some more tables. So a very optimistic mood, Scott is saying, is being set at the Medicine Hat the Medicine Hat Lodge tonight. So that is Scott Roblin, who is out tonight. We have many of our other reporters out as well, and we'll catch them as the evening goes on. So let's go into some first results now. It's about 8:15, and results are starting to pop in. And so we go to Drayton Valley, Devon now. This is Mark Smith's riding. This is also the riding that has been hit very hard by the lack of jobs over the course of the last little while. So you can see Mark Smith, who had those issues during the campaign, is right now leading 178 to 35. Ronald Brochu only having 1 vote at this point, and Gail Upton is down at 5. So we're now back to our region, and we're now going to look at Brooks Medicine Hat. Those are the numbers that we have in now. So this was a riding that potentially is up for grabs to just about anyone. No incumbent at this hour with three reporting in. We've got Michaela Glasgow is 102 votes at this point, Lynn McWilliam 20, Jim Black has 9, and Todd Beasley has 43. All right, so as we bring back in Barry Finkelman, our analyst tonight. So when you're looking at these numbers right now, after just 3 polls reporting, surprised to see Michaela Glasgow with 102?
No, I'm not. We knew that the UCP was going to do well in the Brooks Medicine Hat riding. They've been campaigning strongly. She's been out of the doors consistently throughout the entire time. The Brooks riding is, of course, looking at the same issues that the UCP is supporting. They need work. They are an oil patch based community still, and that's what Jason Kenney is promoting.
So here is the interactive map that we'll be showing you throughout the evening. Barry, you're seeing this for the first time. We took a look at it this afternoon. So you can see right now that Michaela Glasgow has 518 votes. Todd Beasley now in second. And Barry, you're saying earlier that Jim Black could have a good evening. These are early numbers, so there's no point in predicting anybody to have a victory at this point with only 3 of the polls in. But do any of those numbers, other than Michaela Glasgow, are they surprising to you?
No, they're not. Lynn Williams is the NDP candidate, and she's a former town councillor from the area of Bassano. Jim Black is certainly has a strong response in the Medicine Hat riding, in the Medicine Hat area, and I think we're going to see better numbers at that time. Although right now it's anybody's game, because we're going to see how the non-decided voting turned out. You know, there was a lot of discussion that the polls were not going to come in accurately. Yeah. They may in that. We just don't know. We haven't had good success with the polls in the last couple of years, so we look at them with a little bit of a jaundiced eye, actually.
You've been around politicians on nights like this. We're 15 minutes in, the numbers are slowly rolling in. What is going through the mind of all of these politicians right now?
Well, Alberta has had a history of electing people in the first 5 minutes of their of the counting, and so they're probably sitting there saying, "Well, this is a good roll. We'll see what happens." It might just be a good roll, and we may be seeing a change in government moving forward. But we won't know for a while, and we have to wait.
Yes. Well, patience is something. Certainly a virtue this evening. All right, let's set up another scene. Let's go down to Brown Social House, where Jessie Weisner is there taking a look at what the NDP candidates are doing. Tonight she has both Lynn McWilliam and Peter Mueller, who will be at Brown Social House tonight. So let's head off to Jessie Weisner.
Thanks, Dan. I'm here at Brown Social House where people have started to file in. As of now, I'm hearing mixed reviews on the NDP candidates. I'm hearing a little bit of fear, a little bit of unpredictability as those results start to roll in. But I'm also hearing that those two candidates, Peter Mueller and Lynn McWilliams, ran a very, very strong campaign. There is signs being set up behind me, as well as some buttons for those NDP candidates. Peter Mueller, he does have quite a strong support system in that Cypress Medicine Hat area. He's been knocking on doors, and he was a teacher for quite a long time, so he does have that support there. Whereas with Lynn McWilliams, she's hoping to grab that Bassano riding. She was a former councillor in that area, and she hopes that rural area will support her with this election. As people start to file in here, we're waiting on those results to come in, and we're waiting for those signs to get set up behind us, and we are waiting right now. And right now with Peter Mueller and Lynn McWilliams, they're set to come in about 45 minutes here, and back to you in studio.
All right. Jessie Weisner is on scene at Brown Social House downtown for us, and she is reporting the fact that the candidates haven't got there, and it's really not seemingly set up too much for them to arrive. So do you think that either one of these candidates are thinking, okay, we don't have a shot?
Well, it's a hard thing. You know, people campaign throughout an election, and they put their best foot forward, and they get all their hopes up. The night before is always a challenge because you are sometimes elated, sometimes you doubt. This campaign is moving in a direction which we think we saw the direction that it was moving in quite early in the campaign, and we were hoping that there were changes. And the last couple of days, there have been changes for the NDP. So they were hoping that their numbers would be coming up. We're in Medicine Hat, which is in a unique area. Last time we elected an NDP candidate in the Medicine Hat riding with Bob Warner, part of that was due to the fact that Bob was well known and was a known quantity within the community. Even though he was a civil servant, he was well liked and well appreciated. And I think that people thought that here's someone who, if we're going to elect a change in government, this is the individual who we want in the House. Now, that saying, people are sitting there, they're hoping that they're going to do better, but they're waiting on pins and needles right now.
Pins and needles. I remember having a conversation with Sheila Copps once when she was going to run for the lead of the Liberal Party of Canada for federally, and this was when Justin Trudeau had yet to announce. And I was interviewing her, and I said, "Did you honestly think you have a chance?" And she insisted that she believed in her heart of hearts she had a chance.
You have to. You can't go into a campaign without believing that you're going to make a difference. Otherwise, what's the use of even waking up in the morning and getting out there and going door to door? I was talking with Jim Black last week, and Jim said that he had spent more time going up the stairs to all sorts of houses and such. And he was thrilled by it. And he knew at that time that he had made a difference in some way. He wasn't sure what it was going to be, but he certainly knew that he was going to make a difference. And we're seeing that, you know, he has drawn a significant number of votes.
So far?
And that's not bad.
You spent part of the past week in Edmonton as well. Does Edmonton feel any differently around a political election than Medicine Hat feels? Without
question. Edmonton is a sea of orange signs, and the potential for Edmonton to see a very broad NDP election is probably the outcome for the evening. I think that Notley is pretty secure with her candidates in Edmonton, but Calgary is where the game is going to be played out.
Okay. Quickly before we go to break, any chance Rachel Notley doesn't get reelected?
I think that's very wide.
Okay.
No.
Probably the only time tonight I'll say any chance, because there's always a chance. All right. This is Chat News Decision 2019, and we'll be back with more analysis, and we'll check in with some more ridings in just a moment. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. Let's take a look at what's been happening in Brooks Medicine Hat throughout this election day. And Michaela Glasgow is now almost up to 560 votes. Jim Black still around 53. Lynn McWilliam has gained some ground. Colin Pachulek down is at 8. Todd Beasley 123, and Jama Farah is holding steady at 10. Good for him for 10. Barry Finkelman is here with us. Barry, you're seeing these numbers. What's coming to your mind right now?
Well, this is not surprising. I think that Michaela had a good chance in this riding. She is representing the UCP, which is the party of choice in this particular riding, I believe. And it's showing here. I mean, she's 10 times above Jim Black. She's, 5 times drawing stronger than Todd Beasley and Lynn McWilliam. So, it's a very strong possibility that she's going to move ahead and will continue this count throughout the evening.
There seemed to be, Michaela Glasgow, if you go anywhere between here and Brooks out to Dinosaur Provincial Park, had signs everywhere, but there seemed to be a little bit of backlash this week, and we'll come back to Michaela in a second. We have the Edmonton McClung up there now. So there's Stephen Mandel with, I think, one poll reporting at this hour. Stephen Mandel is not leading in his own riding. So Lauren Dack has, the incumbent has 36 right now, and he is leading. So there's a chance Stephen Mandel, the former mayor of Edmonton, who was confident today that because he had been mayor that he was going to win in the seat, at this point is not winning in his seat.
Again, we're talking about a strong NDP riding. Lauren Dack had a good following. He has done a reasonably good job for them. It's a very progressive riding based on its past voting history. And this one is certainly interested in maintaining an NDP climb. When you're talking about the NDP issues in Edmonton, what you've got is a situation where Edmonton believes that if they don't vote NDP, that they're going to end up with a UCP government.
Okay.
So I think you're going to find that a lot of the Edmonton ridings will favor the NDP in their votes. So Stephen Mandel, the Alberta Party, the chance of the Alberta Party having more than 4 seats, or having the 4 seats they need to become a legitimate party and to get all the funding they need, is limited. So Mandel's got a really rough ride ahead of him.
Okay, let's take a map. Let's go to Cypress Medicine Hat here. And so there you go. Drew Barnes at 281. Peter Mueller at 233. Potentially the closest he gets tonight?
I think that we have to wait and see. This is very good news for Peter Mueller. Drew Barnes is marginally ahead. I think I was not expecting it to be this close, quite frankly. Okay. And we're only talking about 20% of the vote between them. It's very early in the riding. We've got, 45,000 people in the riding, and the percentage of those can vote. So we'll wait and see what that turns out to. But that may flip back and forth, or it may continue with Drew climbing throughout, but it looks like Peter's off to a good start as well. So the other candidates really haven't even shown, so I'm not expecting very much from the NDP, from Colette Smithers in this case. Okay. But we'll have to wait and see.
We will have to watch them. All right, back down to Brown Social House, where our Jesse Weisner is reporting for us this evening. Back to you, Jesse.
I'm here with Elizabeth Thompson, the Constituency Association campaign president there. How do you feel about what's happening tonight right now?
Feeling really, really positive. We've run a really amazing campaign, our best campaign yet in this region. So we're just really excited to celebrate our volunteers and celebrate the candidates.
What's the overall mood in the room?
Excited, exuberant, ready for the results, and just very positive.
And we had Bob Warner show up, the former NDP representative for a riding here in Medicine Hat. How does his presence feel in the room?
It definitely gives some power and some authority, and a morale boost, definitely. When he comes into the office and we get him set off on phone calls to make sure our supporters are getting out to the votes. For the voters, it's kind of an honor to get a phone call from the MLA, but also for the volunteers, it shows, no job is too small. Every single job that we do on election day is important. If Bob Warner can do it, you can do it too.
Mm-hmm. And I was speaking to a couple of attendees earlier. There's a little bit of uncertainty, a little bit of fear in the room. What do you think about that?
I think no matter what the result is, we're going to be positive. If Kenny wins, we're going to be keeping him to account. but when Notley wins, we're going to be very exuberant. And, starting now, basically, we are election day minus 4 years. So there's no break. We're going to get started for the next election.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Elizabeth. Back to you, Dan, in studio.
All right, thank you, Jesse. Jesse Weisner at Brown Social House with the campaign manager, and Barry and I back in studio. Let's go to Edmonton, Highland, Norwood now and take a look at the results there. So there we've got Tish Prowse, Chris Poplatek, Leela Hole, and Janice Irwin there. And this is the riding that it's open for grabs because Brian Mason, who held this since 2004, is not running again, and Janice Irwin seeking to hold this seat for the NDP, and right now she is sitting second.
And I have a hunch this will be back and forth between the two of them. Brian Mason had this seat for a long time, well, since 2004. He's not running again this time, and that left a hole because he was a very strong candidate. Part of his election was based on him as a personality.
Yeah.
And Brian was a good candidate and was a good individual. Janice Irwin is a teacher, she's a school administrator, and she's seeking to hold this riding for the NDP. And then you've got Leila Houle, who is an engagement and relationship advisor for Indigenous relations. Okay. So there's a good package that both of them represent good candidates, both women. So there's an issue in Edmonton that would be very supportive there. And we'll just have to wait and see. Again, a lot of this tonight is, at this point, it's too early to tell, and we'll see. They're practically neck to neck at this point on those two.
In a riding like this, a quick question. In a riding like this where you have somebody who sits for a long time and then doesn't come back, can it be difficult for people to embrace somebody new in this riding, or do they just open their minds for the most part to the campaign and see who wins? Well, it really depends, because what happens with this type of thing, like Bob Warner, who, although he only was in office for 4 years, played a very strong role in the last government and was well liked and well appreciated. So when you start to put new candidates into the riding and such, you have to deal with the fact that people are learning their personalities, learning where they trust them, and you really don't know initially whether or not the individual was won because of who they were or because of what they represented. Well, maybe 28 days isn't enough. Should we start having 2-year elections? I'm just kidding. We'll be back in just a second. This is Chat News Decision 2019. Thanks for watching. All right, welcome back. Michaela Glasgow has just entered the room, and we are prepared to predict that Michaela Glasgow will be winning in this riding. Michaela Glasgow looks to be winning in this riding, and throughout the province right now, UCP 44 seats, and the NDP has 17. We are going to go to our Haley Ferguson, who is at the Travel Lodge, the Medicine Hat Lodge with Michaela Glasgow. Haley.
Thanks so much, Dan. Here now with Michaela. Now, obviously, this was a very quick deciding factor. What was this experience like so far?
Oh my goodness, my team has run an amazing race. We have stayed humble. We've worked hard. We've earned every single vote, and I'm overwhelmed. I'm humbled. I can't believe. I'm amazed. Alberta is electing a UCP government tonight. I feel it in my bones, and Alberta's ready for a change, and they're showing that in Brooks Medicine Hat.
Now, obviously, you were excited or expected to win, as you're obviously feeling. But did you expect it to happen this soon?
I never expected to win. I went into this with a humble attitude. I went into this with a completely clear head, saying, you know what, whatever happens, happens. My team has worked incredibly hard. We've been pounding the pavement every day. We were actually outdoor knocking till about 4:30 today. So today even. So it was pretty crazy. But like I said, I'm humbled. This is amazing.
What do you think your campaign did right?
We stayed humble. We never got into the mudslinging. We made sure that we were running a clean campaign. We stayed focused on issues like jobs, the economy, pipelines. We never strayed from that message, and that message is overwhelmingly resounding with Albertans right now.
Now, obviously, you did say that you ran a clean campaign and so much, but a huge part of the UCP's election was the fact that there were a couple controversies. How do you think your party dealt with that?
I think the fact of the matter is that Albertans are not ready. We're not ready for a fear and smear campaign. And when you have nothing to run on, when you have a record that is a $100 billion debt wall, 0 pipelines, and a government that's out of touch with regular everyday Albertans, especially rural Albertans, you're going to see that in the results. So I'm just happy that we stuck to our message. People are responding to that.
One part was the idea of Todd Beasley possibly, voting or splitting the vote, pardon me. And when Jason Kenney came to town, he said it was a waste of vote if you were to vote for Beasley, despite the fact he said it was a UCP vote. How important was it to have Kenney there?
I believe in my team, but I'd also obviously very much appreciate the support of our leader. He's been supportive of me and my candidacy from day one. And I'm just proud of the campaign that we ran, and with his leadership, we were able to accomplish this as well.
Now, in Medicine Hat, very quickly, what's your first order of business to help the people here?
We have, before I went into this, I said that this riding is huge. We need to be accessible, and we need to make sure that we have offices that are accessible to everyone. So we are planning to have two offices here in Brooks Medicine Hat. But obviously, Bill 1 is the Carbon Tax Repeal Act, and I know a lot of people are also excited about Bill 3, the Farm Freedom Act.
Thank you so much, Kayla. Dan?
Thank you very much, Haley. Nobody's giving you coverage of Medicine Hat for Medicine Hat as we are here on Chat Television. This is Chat News Decision 2019. I'm Dan Reinisch, along with Barry Finkelman, who's here offering analysis. And so Michaela Glasgow wins, and now at this moment we can also declare that the UCP will have a majority government. And so there you go. We are predicting at this point, the time right now, it is 41 minutes in front of 9 o'clock, and the UCP is about to form a majority government. And I'm not surprised by that. Are you surprised by that?
I'm not totally surprised by it. I was hoping, I have to admit, that we would see a more balanced government, because right now I'm not sure majorities are what are going to push the province forward. People have said that a minority government of some sort might have been nice to have for a while, so there was some sort of responsibility on both sides. Mm-hmm. We'll see how the UCP govern. At the moment, the Global Desk is suggesting that they've got their 45 seats that they need, with the NDP coming up with 22 seats, and nobody else.
So here's the overall look at what's happening out there right now. So the UCP, 25 seats, or 45 total. There you go, and there you go, 22 for the NDP, and that's a dissolution of 25. So again, those numbers are starting to roll through. So there is Cypress. So Drew Barnes right now is declared a winner. So Medicine Hat Brooks, Cypress Medicine Hat both have UCP candidates. The Drew Barnes certainly not a surprise to anybody. And when you look at Michaela Glasgow's, the way that she ran a campaign, in the future, will people look at that as a textbook way to run a campaign?
She ran a very honest campaign. Michaela stayed out of the barnyard brawl, as I said before. She was the one who went door to door. She worked very hard at it. Nobody can fault her for doing a very fine campaign in that she simply talked to people and she promoted the view of what the party could do and what she could do as an individual. She's very young. She's 24. Now, she's 4 years older than Thomas Dang, who was the new Democrat, who was elected just barely 20 years old in the last election. So we have had youth in the election, and the House benefits by it to some extent. You know, there's a very steep learning curve anytime you take on a position like this, and I think that from what Michaela has shown us so far, she's up to it. And so we'll see how she performs. It's a very strange riding because it's a very long riding. There's a lot of work. It's a big riding to deal with. But a lot of the ridings have shifted in that direction, and when you get into the rural areas, you've got large ridings. So we're hoping that Michaela will be up to it and that she'll serve us very well as the new MLA.
Does she, in Edmonton and behind closed doors, does she suffer at all for having worked with Drew Barnes in the past?
I don't think so. It'll depend. If Drew is now, as we've seen, has been declared a leader, or at least having taken his riding, then Drew has campaigned for a long time that he believes that he should be in the minister position. He was he was the finance critic for the last while, and so that says that there's a tremendous amount of faith in him by the party. So we could see Drew stepping into a minister's role. If that's so, then Michaela, who is close to him in the work they've been doing, may benefit very well from that.
Okay, fair enough. Let's head back down to Brown Social House. Jesse Weisner is down there, and Jesse, it's up to you.
I'm here with Isabeau, a volunteer for that NDP party. As of now, it's been called that Michaela Glasgow has taken that Brooks Medicine Hat riding. So Isabeau, how does that kind of feel at this moment?
You know, it's a little bit disappointing, but, you know, we're still being positive and hopeful that the NDP will continue to rise and take the seat. And, you know, I myself would be very happy for them to continue to be in power for Alberta. So I'm hoping Peter ends up in power for sure.
So in that Brooks Medicine Hat riding, that was Lynn McWilliams. Do you have any opinion on kind of how that campaign maybe could have been improved?
Well, you know, we honestly did the best we could. And, you know, that's all you can do. So.
Definitely. And you're in the Cypress Medicine Hat riding.
Yes.
So coming from this point forward, what are your hopes for Peter Mueller in that riding?
I'm definitely hoping for him to get in. There's a lot of great ideas that he has. He worked at the high school I used to go to, and he's already proven himself beyond to me and to honestly the entire volunteer group from what I've heard.
And are your hopes considerably high at this point, especially with people filing in today?
Yeah, I think we have a good chance.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Back to you, Dan, in studio.
That's the old days.
Jesse, thank you very much. Okay, so the UCP right now in their majority government, 48 seats, and the NDP has 24 at this point. And right now, as we continue to watch the numbers come in, let's go to Lethbridge East and take a look at what is happening there. Okay, so Maria Fitzpatrick is the incumbent here, and Nathan Neudorf, Dean Hargraves with 37, in Ali Taylor and John McKenna. So Maria Fitzpatrick hoping to benefit from the multiple visits that Rachel Notley made to Lethbridge, and at this hour it's Nathan Neudorf who is leading for the UCP. And we go to the next board now. So this is Lethbridge West. Now, Shannon Phillips, the incumbent in this area, and there was a fear that if Rachel Notley didn't visit, Shannon Phillips could lose that seat. Right now she has 66 votes over Carrie Flotla, and Zach's got 132. You've got Pat Chizak and Ben Madison with 31. So Shannon and Carrie continue to lead there. Now Shannon Phillips hoping to hold on to that seat for the NDP.
Well, Shannon Phillips has done a very good job for the NDP, and she's been a minister. And Lethbridge West has had a long history of their MLAs being cabinet ministers.
Right.
This goes back to Clint Dunford. It goes to Greg Wiedek, and they've had a minister throughout their entire time. So Shannon winning against a UCP majority means that they're going to be in a different position for a long time. And Lethbridge has prided itself for a very long time on having a voice in cabinet. They may not this time, and so it will be a bit of a change. Lethbridge East has been flipping back and forth over the years and has had a very long history of change. It was held by the Liberal Ken Nickel for a long time, and then the Liberal Bridget Pasteur, who then stepped over to the PC party in 2011.
Okay, let's go back to one of our reporters, and Taylor Chartrand has caught up with Jim Black, and so we'll send it out to Taylor. Taylor, go ahead, sir.
Thanks, Dan. Standing here with Jim Black. Jim, obviously we're just going to touch up on Stephen Mandel currently losing his riding. Can I just get your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm kind of disappointed that's the case. I was hoping we could do better in his riding. It's always important when you have the leader doing well in his own riding, and it is a little early, but I think it's going to be a tough road to hoe.
Now, why, Jim, why do you think that is? Why do you think Mandel is trailing in his riding?
Well, I think it's pretty much, if you look at the polls even prior to the election, it's pretty much NDP country. It's always tough to be that third party no matter where you are. And he's in a riding, I think, that was held by held by the NDP. So you've got your work cut out against you, and then it's become basically evident for everyone, I think, that it really did come down to a two-party race. It was the battleground was all of Alberta, really, I think, with little potholes of support for the NDP in Edmonton and wide range support for the UCP in rural Alberta, and a bit of a battleground going on, I think, in Calgary. But at the end of the day, I think it's basically come down to what everybody knew. Two-party race, and over personalities and not necessarily platforms.
All right, now, Jim, we're going to touch up on locally here, the Brooks Medicine Hat riding. It looks like Michaela Glasgow has been declared as the MLA here. Just kind of get your thoughts on that, and where do you think wheels kind of fell off for yourself here in this race?
Well, I don't know if they actually fell off for us, because we were up against the heavy favorite, and rural Alberta right off the bat they were saying 60% support in rural Alberta. They had a very fine campaign. They were well financed, well organized. Michaela did a very good job. She was well prepared for all the forums, worked hard, and hard work always pays off. And when you're going in as the sort of the leader, it's pretty hard for anybody to catch you, especially when you've got a good plan and a good platform.
Now, Jim, obviously this is your second provincial election here with the Alberta Party, heading forward into the future here. What do you think you could do better if you're planning on running in the next election here?
Well, I think the whole party has to gain some momentum, right? I mean, one of the things that's refreshing to see so far, if we're going to look for that silver lining here, is that I think in the last election we polled at about 2.4%, and now we're almost at 10. Locally here, I think I was around 4.5. Hopefully I can hang in there and be in the 10-12% range. Build off that for the next election. I think now that we have a full platform, we have a full number of candidates in each riding. I think we can build on this for 4 years and keep doing what we're doing and build a good platform and have good policy.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jim. Dan, back to you.
Taylor, thank you very much. That is our Taylor Chartrand on 2nd Street in the campaign office for the Alberta Party. Jim Black having to give a concession speech, which concession speech probably one of the hardest things to have to do, whether it's after a Super Bowl or during an election campaign.
It is, yes.
He stood up fairly well.
He did a very good job. It's very difficult to swallow your pride and say, I did the best job I possibly could, but I didn't win. Mm-hmm. And that's an issue that you have to admire people who can do that and work hard to present themselves. Jim's put himself out there twice. He ran in the municipal election just a while ago, and he has now run in a provincial election. And that's important. As an individual, he has a very high profile as a genuine individual.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's go back to the provincial map, and thank you to Jim for joining us this evening. So here's the provincial map. Right now, you can see there that the United Conservative Party has 53 seats, and the NDP are sitting there with 24. The other three parties not yet registering, and at this point, we are declaring that the UCP will form a majority government. After the 30th election, no seats there for the other three, and they need 4 before they can be considered a party. Is that not correct, Barry?
That's right. And you'll see that Stephen Mandel hasn't made an inroad in his riding yet, and that was one that was of great concern. David Kahn is new to the process and is an unknown quantity for a lot of people, but Stephen Mandel should have won his seat. There's a need to have a range of people in the riding. Last time when we dissolved the legislature, we had 87 seats, and we had, outside of the 52 and 25 of the NDP and the UCP, all the others were the other parties. And that provides a different voice and a different approach to what the policies are. So it's nice to see. We're not really healthy at a two-party system in Canada. We like to see at least three parties, if not more.
One riding we have not yet seen any results from at all is Rachel Notley's riding. We have not seen anything.
That's right, up at Edmonton.
So they're not by any chance holding it back, are they? Just maybe they don't have the numbers yet. Can they do that during an election, hold back numbers?
I don't know. I wanted to pull up my page on it because it's really quite interesting. Rachel Notley is running in a riding where there are 11 candidates. It is one of the largest range of candidates, everything from Green to Wild Rose to Liberal to Alberta Advantage to Communist to Independent individuals to Independents, Alberta Independents. So it's a very interesting riding. In fact, even the Communist leader is running against her. It's unusual that we have a leader running against a leader.
Well, the NDP have held that riding since 1997. You're watching Chat News. This is Decision 2019. I'm Dan Reiners along with Barry Finkelman. We appreciate you being with us tonight for Medicine Hat's election results, and we'll have more of those and look more across the province in just a moment.
Going here. We're just in commercial.
Welcome back. This is Decision 19 on Chat Television. A majority UCP government is what you can expect for the next 4 years. And we head off now to the Medicine Hat Travel Lodge, where our Scott Roblin has winner Drew Barnes. Scott?
You're ready to go for the celebration party.
Well, Drew, term number 3, it's been made official, re-elected here in Cypress Medicine Hat. Just your thoughts about gaining the confidence once again.
Oh, thank you. First of all, I'm so grateful to the people of Cypress Medicine Hat for yet another chance, and a chance to be in government, a chance to really advocate for rural values, for the people of Cypress Medicine Hat, and for Medicine Hat. 2012 is, 7 years ago when we started this thing, and the opportunity to learn about government, to learn really what the values and the importance was for people of Cypress Medicine Hat. And now, with the United Conservative Party, great candidates. Hey, I'm so excited about Michaela Glasgow being there. She's going to be great. Of course, Jason Kenney, the talk for so long has been to work hard, stay humble, and earn every vote. I haven't seen the final results, but clearly our party did that. Clearly our party has worked hard for a mandate for Alberta to get the Alberta advantage back. And I'm talking about the best place to raise a family, the most opportunity, the most competitive tax rates, and the best social programs. Things that we've seen eviscerated in the last 4 years. Things that because of the quality of Albertans we can get back, and I'm absolutely sure that the United Conservative Party, myself, my colleague Michaela Glasgow, we'll put together the same work effort that we did in this victory. And I guess I also want to say, and thank you for letting me run on, is my goodness, like the volunteers that helped us do this. Cypress Medicine Hat, we had 90 or 100 some volunteers. We had 1,600 signs. What do we got in here? 300 or 400 people. What a fantastic community effort. And I'm so looking forward to advocating and working hard for Cypress Medicine Hat.
The UCP government, of course, forming a majority tonight. That's being projected. Just what are your thoughts on knowing that your party is going to be forming a majority government?
Oh, I'm so pleased. And Albertans spoke after 4 years of being off track, 4 years being governed by a party that didn't have our values and the best for Alberta families at heart. Now it is our chance to show that once again we can be the best place in Canada and a strong part of Canada, a leader in Canada, but the best place to raise a family, the most opportunity with the best programs. And my goodness, I'm so looking forward to being a part of that.
And also a UCP sweep here in the Medicine Hat area with Michaela Glasgow getting in for her first term. I know you've worked closely with Michaela for a number of years. What was it like to see her get elected?
I'm so pleased for her. She is so confident. She is going to be an excellent voice for the people of Brooks Medicine Hat. I'm so pleased to be working with her going forward, and I'm anxious to start tomorrow. And let's get at it. Let's get back to advocating for Medicine Hat, advocating for Brooks Medicine Hat in her case, and let's get back to the values that we know make this the best part of Alberta to raise a family, the best part to live.
Well, thank you, Drew. It is official. Drew Barnes, the re-elected MLA here in Cypress Medicine Hat. Dan?
Thank you very much, Scott, down at the Medicine Hat Lodge. Okay, so let's go to some more numbers now. Yes, it is a UCP majority government. That's what we'll have for the next 4 years. And as we take a look at some numbers now, there you go. The United Conservative Party, it is a majority government. Right now, 61 seats for the UCP, 23 for the NDP. We go to Calgary, Lougheed, where Jason Kenney is leading by about 900 votes right now. So Jason Kenney, the leader, your next premier, it looks like. Jason Kenney. Okay, to Edmonton, Strathcona. Rachel Notley is in fact leading there as well. She has a lead of about a little under 350 votes. And as we move on now, once again to Drayton, Devon. Now again, hit very hard. And Mark Smith, it doesn't seem, Mark Smith with the check mark there. Are we declaring him a winner at this point? Mark Smith has won. Yes, Mark Smith getting in. Okay, so Mark Smith getting in some trouble over the course of the campaign as it ran on, and Jason Kenney choosing to stick with Mark Smith during all of that, and it looks like it has paid off with a victory there. All right.
It appears to.
Barry Finkelman here. I'm Dan Reinish. Thank you very much for joining us here on Chat TV. So we have two winners for the UCP, and you have seen both of them interviewed here on Chat Television tonight as we work hard to bring Medicine Hat's election coverage to you. And let's have some conversations now about all of that just happened. The first thing that Drew Barnes wanted to talk about were the people in his riding and how thankful he was that they chose him once again.
Well, Drew is a populist, and he always has been. His focus has been on talking to people, on trying to connect with people, and it seems that that's been a very successful approach for him. We don't know yet what they're going to be able to do for the Medicine Hat riding, but you know, with Drew doing so well, there's a chance that Medicine Hat may luck out with a minister in this riding once again, and that's always a very positive thing for a community. You know, they talk about Medicine Hat being at a distance from everything else, but when you've got a minister here, it helps an awful lot.
Absolutely. One of the things that Drew said was he referred to Medicine Hat as the best, or as Alberta as the best place in Canada, and he said he can't wait to get to Edmonton and work on behalf of the people of Medicine Hat.
Well, that's wonderful, because you know, I've been here for a long time, and I believe that this is one of the finest places in Canada to live. You know, I've raised my kids here, I've lived here a long time. I agree with him from that standpoint. This is a wonderful, wonderful part of the country.
Okay, so he is part of a majority government, and as we continue to look through, it looks like Jason Kenney is going to win his seat as well. He's doing very well in his riding. Any surprise there? Was there any chance Mr. Kenney didn't win his seat?
No, no surprise whatsoever. That particular riding, Jason's been working extremely hard. I've spent a bit of time in that riding on other business and such, and he is a strong force in that area. The riding is a very positive riding for him. He stepped into an office which was the right one for him, and he simply has been moving forward on it. People have been seeing the potential for UCP government, so why wouldn't you elect the person who has been leading it
certainly
that
helps.
far?
It certainly helps. All right, some more numbers now as we go to the boards here on Chat Television to take a look at some more numbers from our ridings. So here in Medicine Hat, the riding we're going to go to first, Brooks Medicine Hat. So there's Michaela Glasgow, almost 2,000 votes up on Lynn McWilliam, and you can see how everything else is playing there. Todd Beasley at 579, a good showing for Todd, and Jim Black sitting there with 321. Colin Pachinek 53 votes with Jama Farah at 52. And now let's go to Cypress Medicine Hats. Michaela Glasgow has one there. Drew Barnes has one in Cypress Medicine Hat. So we can see the other numbers as they played out. So Peter Mueller, 985 votes, just shy of 1,000 at this point. Colette Smithers at 223, Anwar Cameron at 29, and Terry Blackier representing the Independent Party at 61 votes. So when you look at that board, obviously there is somebody who is a winner. Drew Barnes is the winner, but the votes are spread around a little bit. So while they're not going to get a seat in Edmonton, and their party might not get stature, everybody is having an okay showing. I don't see any numbers there that should make anybody feel embarrassed.
No, with the way that the election was running, and the possibility of a UCP election pretty well on the horizon, it's nice to see that there's a range of votes, that people have had their say, and that they're not simply one-sided, that there is some dissent, and Peter has done reasonably well. I thought that he would at least crack the 1,000 mark, at least on it. That hasn't happened yet, and I'm not quite sure what the numbers are, what the percentages are in the riding. It'll be interesting to see the percentage of voters in the Medicine Hat riding and how that pans out once we get the final numbers.
Yes, well, instant analysis today. We'll break everything down further tomorrow. Let's go back to Edmonton, Strathcona, where Rachel Notley, the numbers that we saw, was leading by about 900 votes. Certainly no shock there, as you said earlier, and as I mentioned, this has been an NDP riding for a very long time.
Absolutely no surprise there. Rachel has proven herself as an individual to be a very credible candidate for everybody. She connects with people very well, and her riding absolutely loves her.
Yeah.
And I think that's clear. The fact that there were 11 candidates in the area, we were only seeing 6 on the boards here, so it'll be interesting to see how it all laid out exactly. The numbers, I'm sure, for the other candidates who weren't there were very small.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's go to some more Calgary ridings here and take a look at what's also at play in Calgary. So here's Calgary Buffalo. So there's Joe Ceci, expected to, and at this time leading by, that's less than about 200. So Joe Ceci over Tom Olsen at this point. UCP versus NDP there. Jen Kahn, Heather Morgeau, and Corey Hetherington below Omar Massoud. And Joe Ceci, Tom Olsen, that's a little bit close. Let's get to analysis in a second, but first another Calgary riding for us tonight. So here is Calgary Mountain View, Kathleen Ganley and David Kahn. David Kahn at this point, that is a surprise. You have to admit that is a surprise. David Kahn, 140 votes. The leader of the Alberta Liberal Party, Jeremy Wong, at 889, sitting in second place. Monica Fries, Thana Boonlert, and Angela Kokot sitting there. But David Kahn, at this point, it looks like he might not even have a seat to represent the Alberta Party in the legislature.
This doesn't show very well for David Kahn. David fought a very hard battle to take on the Liberal Party, and there was a lot of question when the Liberal Party came up again under David, whether or not the Liberal Party should stand or whether it should amalgamate with another party. The Alberta Party was the most common recommended one. And the fact that David brought the party forward and such, this would suggest, I think in the long run, that we may be looking at the demise of the Alberta Liberal Party. This may put the dirt on top of the coffin.
Yeah, we see that that Kathleen Ganley doing fairly well now, and still, David Kahn said today that if he doesn't win to represent Alberta today, he looks forward to doing that in the next Alberta election. So it looks like that riding might hold NDP. Any surprise there for you?
No, I'm not
Kathleen
surprised.
Ganley?
Kathleen Ganley is a very strong candidate. She was expected to win this one. I don't think that I thought David might come in second. Maybe a reasonable second, but he's not even close. The UCP has taken second position there, so not surprised that Kathleen Ganley is there, but not surprised. But I am surprised about David's position.
Yeah, David, and regardless of the vote anywhere votes, that probably isn't going to help him gain that many votes as we move forward. So far, I mentioned less than 200 there for Kathleen Ganley in that riding, but there hasn't been anything that's been too close that we really need to worry about any of the vote anywhere votes needing to be counted tomorrow.
Not yet, but we still have this issue. Not yet. We have to keep saying not yet. You know, I was thinking just before we finished the issue with David, you know, he performed extremely well in the debate, and people thought that he had helped to move himself forward. It doesn't seem to have been.
That is unfortunate. This is Chat News. We are Decision 2019. I'm Dan Reinish here with Barry Finkelman. We appreciate you watching our program tonight. We have much more to come. We'll take a break right now, and we'll be right back. great Tuesday evening. We are getting ready to head down to the Medicine Hat Lodge. Both Drew Barnes and Michaela Glasgow are getting ready to speak. They will do that in just a couple of moments. Right now, there are 87 ridings that are reporting. We have elected there 49 for the UCP, 49 elected, leading in 13 for a total of 60. That's for 51% of the vote. The NDP elected 13, leading in 12. That is a 25 for 34% of the vote. And with those ridings all reporting still zeros for the Alberta Liberal Party, the Alberta Party, and all other parties as well. 0 elected, 0 leading, and 0%. And so the United Conservative Party will be forming an elected in a majority government, and Rachel Notley has won her seat. So there you go. Back we are to Edmonton Strathcona, and Rachel Notley with 1,406 votes. She will remain the leader of the NDP, and she has won her seat. And Cushon Gill with 342, Prem Paul 118, Stuart Andrews for the Green Party 24, Ian Smythe with 14, and Samantha Hees. And those are just 6. As Barry Finkelman, our analysis, has been saying tonight, there are 11 people running in that riding. So Rachel Notley, official, she will be representing the party once again. Any chance she steps down?
That's a real question, because right now we have a two-party system. UCP and the NDP, we have no other parties in the legislature. Rachel has said that she will work to continue the job she's been doing. She spent time in the opposition position. Would she step down? I think that's a question, because I'm not sure who might be the person in waiting. Okay. There's really not a candidate in waiting, because there's some very good people who have come up. So I think it'll be a while before we see any change there. Okay, fair enough. So once again, 87 ridings reporting in. It is 62-25, a majority government for the United Conservative Party. We're getting ready to head down to the Travel Lodge, or the Medicine Hat Lodge. And we will we'll hear from both Michaela Glasgow and from Drew Barnes when we head down there. Anything that we should watch out for what they might say in their speech? I think we're just going to see a very proud individual who will speak about the things that they can do for the Medicine Hat area specifically, because the two of them, both Michaela and Andrew, are very strong supporters of the local area. So I think we're going to hear from them that Medicine Hat is primary, and that they want to do as much as they possibly can and help Medicine Hat achieve the things that it can do. As we're looking at the numbers as they continue to roll in, are you seeing anything that is going to be a huge surprise when people wake up in the morning? Well, I assume that people are watching tonight. This type of election coverage is one, especially with social media. People are watching, people are aware. I don't think there are going to be any changes. Given what we saw on the leading and elected just now, there's nobody else in the riding, or there's nobody else in the running. People have received reasonable votes at the polls, but they haven't turned into any seats, and that's the issue. I don't think we're going to see any change in seats. Okay, fair enough. So no huge surprises right now, and so there's absolutely nothing along the lines of Columbus sweeping out Tampa Bay in the election this evening. And we are getting ready to hear Drew Barnes and Michaela Glasgow. It looks like they have entered the room at the Medicine Hat Lodge, and we'll continue to watch there as they're applauding for them. Some people even watching the show sitting there with tables on their screens on their table, and they're watching. So there's Drew walking around there, and there's Michaela. And so it looks as if they're chatting to each other. And you would expect Drew or Michaela to go first? I would expect Michaela to speak first. That's just my thought. Fair enough. They certainly look pleased. Everybody in the room at the Medicine Hat Lodge having a great evening as well. And the speech is going there. Are we going to listen to the conversation, or? Okay, so they are just getting called up to the podium in the ballroom at the Medicine Hat Lodge, and I'm looking forward to hearing both of their speeches. Michaela, having won for the first time, has been a very well-spoken person out along the trail, but you can tell when she gets nervous that she sort of pauses a little bit more. In a situation like this, fully written speeches, or are they off the cuff here? Drew, probably a little bit more off the cuff than Michaela. I would say that Drew is prepared for his speech, whether he's off the cuff or whether he's prepared to speech. Drew has spoken extremely well over the last little while. I think Michaela will have a speech prepared to make it easier for her. But I believe Drew will also have a speech at least practiced or thought through the high points. Thought
okay, so we are back to the Medicine Hat Lodge now for the speeches from Michaela and Drew. Let's listen in.
Oh, so you guys can sit down. It's just me. Wow. Okay, so I guess I'm going to start with some thank yous. I first of all cannot believe this is happening. This is the craziest moment of my life. I am so humbled to have the opportunity to even speak and to be in this position. So I just want to start with thank yous. My family, mom, dad, everyone for being here today. I couldn't have done this without you. Terrence, Luke, there's Ron somewhere in the room. Heather, oh my goodness, I'm gonna forget people. There's so many people on my awesome team. Kathleen, Anne, everybody who came and sat at my campaign office, Marie, Opsal, wherever you are, Bob, Jeff, and people, you did signs, you came and you slept until, oh my goodness, midnight sometimes, making sure that we had things together. And you know, there were some days where we really didn't. So it's just amazing that we're here today. And I mean, wow, what a victory, or what a moment for Alberta. This is showing that change is here and hope is on the horizon. Whether you're in the oil and gas sector, whether you are a mom and dad trying to make ends meet, if you are a farmer and rancher, you know that you now have a government that is on your side, that listens to you, that is taking your priorities to Edmonton, and is no longer out of touch with the values that you want represented in the legislature. When I say that I'm humbled and overjoyed, I can't even, those aren't even the words, like there's more words for this, but I just can't think of them right now, and me being at a loss for words is pretty impressive. So, I just can't believe that this is happening today, you know, and this is proof that a positive message sells. In our campaign, our goal was to keep things light. We knew there was tough issues that you were facing here in Alberta. We were on the doors every day, and we heard, you know, people are struggling to get by. They need a job. They need some kind of hope. And they saw that in the United Conservative Party. And like I said, there were days that were not easy, and we overcame that. We made this work. And, you know, we have seen exactly what a disastrous government does to this. I know Drew's probably going to talk to you about the $100 billion debt wall, so I won't steal that from him. But, you know, there are so many things that our government can come in and show Albertans that they have a responsive local government that is really fighting for the issues that matter to them the most. So without further ado, I'm going to give you over to the MLA for Cypress Medicine Hat, Drew Barnes.
Thank you, Michaela, and thank you, Marco, and thanks to each and every one of you out there for bringing this great victory home. Just a few more thanks and a few things I want to touch on about the campaign. First of all, a big thanks to my wife Frances, my mother Jan, one of my 3 sons is here, Davis. Thank you all very, very much for the support that you've given me for 7 years and letting me do this crazy thing. And thank you all for that. 2 of my sons that couldn't be here, Matthew's in Regina. We lost him to the Eastern Province. And my younger son, Blake, I think he stopped studying long enough to go vote for me in Calgary. So a real thank you all very, very much to my family. Michaela, I'm looking so forward to working with you and Heather and your team from Brooks Medicine Hat. We have the opportunity to be the voice of rural Alberta. We have the opportunity for the voice of southeastern Alberta in Edmonton and all through Canada. Thank you all. And let's take a second and recognize the hard work of 87 candidates. This was my 3rd time. Very, very grateful for the opportunity to represent Cypress Medicine Hat for 3 times. But my goodness, 87 candidates working extremely hard for the United Conservative Party, working extremely hard for our vision of Alberta every day and bringing it home in a majority government in a way that will lead to the best government so Alberta can once again be the strongest part of Canada, the leader for opportunity, the best place to raise a family in all of Canada. And let's take a second too and thank Jason Kenney. Let's work hard, let's stay humble, and let's earn every vote. That was the message from the start. A message at the time the NDP party threw $2 or $5 million at his reputation, at him personally, and he stayed strong, he stayed consistent, he stayed firm for working for what's important to us, and that is what he delivered. Let's give Jason Kenney a round of applause. And I want to talk about how grateful and how pleased I am to really once again be honored to be the voice.
Drew Kenney continues to speak at the Medicine Hat Lodge, and one of the things that he did, playing politics very well, Barry, he just thanked Mr. Kenney. So he is angling for a seat in the cabinet,
of course.
I would think, being the good party member at this point. Thanking his mother first, his wife and kids first, and his mother after that, and a few minutes later thanking Mr. Kenney. And he said he's looking forward to being the voice for Southern Alberta. And he's playing the political game very well. He's won, and he knows he's won. A little bit of arrogance in the speech, but I didn't sense too much.
Well, Drew has always been a supporter of Jason Kenney from the very beginning, from the time that he decided that he was going to run as leader. Once Drew decided that he wasn't going to get the leadership position, if you remember, he ran for that as well. Mm-hmm. But once he decided that he was going to support Jason Kenney, he has been a firm supporter all the way through. Throughout all of the issues, if you've spoken to Drew at a trade show or just on the street, and you've had anything negative to say about Jason Kenney, which many people have, of course, mm-hmm. Then Drew has stood up for him and has supported him 100% of the way. So there's never been any doubt in Drew's mind that Kenney is the leader of their party and that he's going to follow him. So I think that's a legitimate approach for him to take. And there is a suggestion that, having been critic for so long, being finance critic, there should be a reasonable cabinet position for him coming up. Be interesting to see what happens with Kenney. Now that Kenney has to offer those positions, get the best people. We'll see what happens.
Okay, let's pick up on this in a second. Back down to Brown's Social House, and here is our Jesse Weisner with Peter Mueller on Decision 2019.
I'm here with Peter Mueller, who has officially lost to Drew Barnes in the Cypress Medicine Hat race. So, Peter, how does it feel at this point?
To tell you the truth, I'm glad this day has come. I'm glad it's all over. I wish it would have been different. I do congratulate Mr. Barnes for his victory. I can now get on with my life. I'll look at it that way.
Do you believe you ran a successful campaign?
I think we worked so hard. We went door to door every day and every night. We talked to an awful lot of people. Some neighborhoods were very, very friendly, very supportive, and they made me feel wonderful. And other neighborhoods were kind of rude. So it was hard to gauge exactly where we had to go and how well we were doing. We did fight a good fight.
Did you think that you would win that fight, considering that Cypress Medicine Hat has been a historically Wild Rose or conservative leading constituents since about the 90s?
One can always hope. To tell you the truth, I really didn't think about the results. I just said I'm going to try to do my best. I'm going to try to have fun with it. I'll try to present Rachel Notley's NDP program to as many people as possible and let them choose. So I really wasn't all that personally invested in it other than to do my job. And I think we did that. And people made a choice.
And then also throughout this campaign, Rachel Notley, she did visit Lethbridge a couple of times, but she didn't actually end up coming to Medicine Hat. Do you think that was for a similar reason, that she doesn't necessarily have that same support here?
I think that's very true. I think she also was far more concerned about the seats in Calgary. Lethbridge was in play, and maybe it was obvious that we weren't, to whoever does these sorts of readings. But I think Calgary was her main concern. So she spent the last 4 days or so in Calgary. So I would have loved to have had her here, but I'm fine with how things worked out.
And then would you consider running in the next provincial election?
My time has come. I have done my job. I'll leave that to someone else.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Peter. Back to you, Dan, in studio.
Thank you very much. That is our Jesse Weisner with Peter Mueller at Brown Social House, and seems like he's content with what he did. He's content with the election that they ran, and as he said at the end, his time has come.
Well, those people who know Peter, I knew him as a teacher, not one of my teachers, but as a colleague back years ago, of course. Peter was always very straight and very honest with the group of people that he dealt with. He was rather polarizing in his articles over the last couple of years, and so people, I think, have decided that which candidate, which individual they want. They want someone. They got to know Peter very well, actually, through his articles, his perspective, and apparently that wasn't strong enough for them to vote for him. And he's a very realistic, very pragmatic individual. He says if it's not for him this time, then he'll step down and let someone else step in. And given the plurality of the vote this time, you'll find that a lot of candidates will say, I've done my job, you know what, I only received this many votes, this percentage, and I really don't feel comfortable stepping in again because I'm not strong enough to take the riding, and they'll leave it for somebody who can take the riding if they possibly can.
Okay, let me backtrack before we go to break. The question that I wanted to ask before we went to the interview with Peter Mueller, and thank him very much for joining us. Does the relationship that Drew Barnes have with Jason Kenney, is that why Mr. Kenney visited our riding when the other party leaders chose not to come to Medicine Hat?
No, that's a very difficult question. I mean, quite frankly, Rachel Notley, I think, was looking at the ridings and trying to put her energies where she could do the most good. And that was obvious that Calgary was the Calgary ridings were really in jeopardy. If she didn't succeed in getting the votes in Calgary, then she wouldn't be premier again. That's obvious. That's what we've seen tonight. Medicine Hat was one riding. And you have to be very realistic that if it's one riding and there's not a great deal of chance of winning it, and she made that decision probably looking at the overall lay of the land, then she put her time in Calgary. The same thing with the other leaders.
Okay, so let's take a break now. 87 ridings reporting, 63 seats for the UCP, who will form majority government, and 24 seats for the NDP. This is Decision 2019 on Chat Television. I'm Dan Reines. Thank you for watching. We'll be right back. Much more to come here on Decision 2019 on Chat Television. We'll be with you for the next half hour with more looks at what's happening in Medicine Hat. Here we go, the election standings right now. So the UCP elected 56, leading in 6 ridings for a total right now of 62. That is 52% of the vote. The NDP 18 elected, leading in 7, and that is a total of 25 seats for 34% of the vote. The other parties, there's donuts all around. Zeros for the Alberta Liberal, the Alberta Party, the Alberta Independence Party. Zeros absolutely everywhere. I'm Dan Reinisch here with Barry Finkelman on the desk. Now to Edmonton-Laclung. Stephen Mandel with 1,790 votes is sitting in 3rd place in his riding. Lauren Dack, the Independent, has 3,740. He is leading. Laurie Moson is 2,997, and Gordon Perrott 81, but Stephen Mandel is sitting in 3rd in that riding. So Sarah Hoffman in Edmonton-Glenora. Sarah Hoffman has been declared the winner with 5,711 votes. Marjorie Newman 3,027 in 2nd place. Glenn Tickner 1,170 for the Alberta Party, and Clint Kelly 157. We're going to Lethbridge now, Lethbridge East, and Nathan Newdorf with 2,727 for the UCP is still leading. The incumbent Maria Fitzpatrick at 2,234, so that is a little bit less than 500 votes separate the two of them. Allie Taylor 284, Dion Hargraves 161, and John McKenna is at 142. So less than 500 separate them there. And as we go to Lethbridge West now, Shannon Phillips is leading. I want to say that's about 120 votes. So Shannon Phillips, the incumbent, with 3,559. Carrie Flatla has 3,475. Zach Rodenheiser at 651. Pat Chizek 184. And Ben Madison at 138 brings in the rear. But Shannon Phillips is now leading in that riding. In Lethbridge West, Shannon Phillips looks like she's going to hold. But this is one of those ridings where the vote anywhere numbers could come into play as we continue to watch these numbers roll in this evening.
Well, that's a very close riding. We've got 3,559 for Shannon Phillips, 3,475 for Carrie Flatla, so that's a very small lead. That's what, 80 votes roughly difference. That's within that issue of under 500 votes difference. We have an issue that we have to be sure of, and we may not know who is going to take this riding until Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, all the advance ballots go to Edmonton and won't be counted until tomorrow. And so once those votes start getting counted, if they need to be tonight, then yes, that could pose a problem for both campaigns, who will not be able to have any sort of speech tonight or be declared a winner in one way or another. Anything else in any of those ridings? So we're not seeing the former Edmonton mayor pick up his seat.
Well, I'm not surprised that Sarah Hoffman has taken her riding. That's the one that we assumed would be a very difficult one. I was surprised when Stephen Mandel went to that riding. It just didn't seem to be the right riding for him. Sarah Hoffman was deputy premier, very well respected in the healthcare field, and so she's run a very strong campaign throughout, and I don't think Mandel really had a great chance. Now, this is going to bring up a question about the Alberta Party. If you notice, there was 10% of the vote, of the popular vote, was still given to the Alberta Party. So they've legitimately said, people said, that's a party that we respect. Now, whether that can move forward in the next couple of years, I think the Alberta Party at least will turn around and say, we're at least in the game, even though we don't have any seats yet.
Okay, let's pause it there. Our Jesse Weisner down at Brown Social House is with Lynn McWilliams. So let's head back down to Jesse.
I'm here with Lynn McWilliams, who is officially lost in the Brooks Medicine Hat electoral district. So, Lynn, what's kind of the mood in the room right now?
Well, I think the mood's kind of exciting. There's a lot of laughing and having fun. We did all right. I did better than I did in Strathmore Brook, so that was okay. And I think we did really well here. So I'm excited. I feel good, and everything else. It's just great.
Is there anything that you would change about that campaign?
No, not a thing. I think we did what had to be done. We worked hard. We were on the doorsteps. We were on the phones. I don't think we could have done anything more than that.
And you were running in Brooks Medicine Hat, which is a new electoral district. What was that like with kind of the unpredictability aspect to it?
It's a big riding. I was commuting the sound out of Medicine Hat and back and stopping in Brooks and everything else. I was familiar with Brooks and County of Newell area, so Medicine Hat was all brand new to me. So, that was, and people didn't know me, so it was great being on the doorstep. Oh, Lynn McWilliam, I wondered who you were. So, it was really great.
And I've heard some positivity around an NDP opposition. How do you feel about that?
Well, we will certainly hold UCP feet to the fire because, the NDP have done so much in the last 4 years, and I don't want to see it reversed. I want to see it move forward, and so we're really going to work at doing that.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Lynn.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Back to you in studio, Dan.
All right, thank you very much, Jesse Wiseman down at Brown Social House, and we have an interview with Colette at this hour. So let's go to Colette Smithers right now.
I have 223 votes. That's pretty awesome. It tells me that we are bringing our message to the people of Cypress Medicine Hat and the people of Alberta. People are taking the time to look at an alternative from the two-horse race that we have going on.
So Colette and Lynn McWilliam seem like very nice people, and Stephen Mandel has officially lost now, as I jump in there and mention that as well. We will have a UCP majority government. So two really nice people running in the campaigns in Medicine Hat, in both Colette and Lynn McWilliam.
And that's one of the beauties about Medicine Hat politics. You get people who have a strong ethic, who say, look, I will step forward and I will represent the party, and I will put myself forward. And that's a very tough position. I ran once for a municipal position, and it was a very strong campaign. There were 35 people running for 9 seats. That was a hard one to lose. We came in the middle, and I'm very happy about that. But you do your best. Yeah. That's unique about Alberta, I think, that people who are good people put themselves forward, and that's what we want in the way of strong politicians, people who people can believe in and respect.
Well said, well said. This is Chat News Decision 2019. Still more to come. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Decision 2019 continues on Chat Television. I'm Dan Reinish along with Barry Finkelman. And let's go to Lethbridge West now. Let's take a look at the numbers in Lethbridge West. When we looked at them, they were very close, still very close. One poll to come, so the incumbent Shannon Phillips right now continues to lead with 5,213 votes to Kerry Flatla's 5,154. So that is 66 and 13. So look at that, just into 70. The other candidates together, Zach Rodenizer is at 973, just under 1,000. Pat Chizek, 263, and Ben Madison at 206. And so one riding left to come in Lethbridge West, and this one continues to be exceptionally close in Lethbridge West. Oh, yeah. I feel bad for any candidate.
This one is probably going to wait until tomorrow because we don't have enough information. We don't know how many advance polls were cast away from Lethbridge, and that may affect things. So this may be the one riding where the advanced away vote becomes an issue.
Good luck. I hope to one of them that they don't have to wait that long. Calgary-Klein is a riding that you've wanted to speak about tonight. So here is the map, and so Jeremy Nixon for the UCP with 5,050 votes, and Craig with the NDP. Craig has 4,178, and then the numbers go down from there. Why was this a riding, Barry, that you wanted to talk about?
Well, this riding is very interesting from the standpoint that it was held by the NDP before. Jeremy Nixon seems to have taken the lead. Well, he's been declared the winner in this riding. Jeremy Nixon is the brother of Jason Nixon, who's also a UCP individual. So that makes for an interesting dynamic in the party. But the other person who is of great interest is Cara Levis. And Cara was the runner-up to Stephen Mandel in the Alberta Party leadership race. Cara came from a Liberal background and was the head of the Women's Commission for the Federal Party, and is a Calgary lawyer with a very strong oil and gas background, and she ran very well against Stephen Mandel. So there was some suggestion that if she did well here, that there might be a chance that she might step forward to lead the party again if Stephen decides not to continue. But
does that poor showing in her own riding work against her?
That's hard to say. Because of the NDP-UCP situation, you may have had the votes polarized there. It doesn't look very good, though.
Okay. Leading an elected 87 ridings, 63, a majority government is what the UCP are going to have, and the NDP will form the official opposition with 24 seats. And as the evening starts to play down, why don't we take a look at some of the things that the parties were planning as the election went on, everything from their platform to how they would handle health care. Have the parties stuck by the platforms that they introduced during this election?
Well, the UCP has presented a very strong campaign based on Alberta Strong and Free. They said that they wanted to get Albertans back to work. Yeah. They wanted to make life better for all Albertans, and they wanted to stand up for Alberta. And that was the key to their whole campaign. They worked to bring that forward, and every time you heard Jason Kenney or any of the UCP candidates talking, they talked to those 3 points.
Right.
Okay. So I think this is, they've been very true to it. There are issues that, of course, are of concern. Jason Kenney says that next week he's turning off the pipes to British Columbia.
Tomorrow within the first hour is what he's saying. Let's leave it at that for a second. We're still waiting to hear from Rachel Notley and or Jason Kenney. We'll take a break right now, and we'll be right back here on Decision 2019. Welcome back. It is Chat News Decision 2019, and we are just waiting for Rachel Notley to take the stage to make her speech on this election evening. Any early prediction what she might talk about?
She's going to be gracious, as always. She is a very fine speaker, and she will support the party.
All right, so let's go back to Brooks. So there you go, some final numbers. There's all ridings reporting at this hour. Michaela Glasgow has been declared the winner with a shy of 10,000 votes, 9,653. Lynn McWilliam, 3,186. Jim Black, 991. Jama Farah, not bad at 166 for him. Todd Beasley, 1,459. And Colin Pachulik, 166. And now to Drew Barnes in Cypress Medicine Hat. 10,351 for Drew. Peter Mueller, 4,115. Colin Smithers, 741. Anwar Cameron, 145. And Terry Blackier at 237. So those are the numbers for both Brooks Medicine Hat and Cypress Medicine Hat. Here's Rachel Notley.
Popular leader.
Let's listen in here.
So very much. You are once again a phenomenal crowd. And it is such an honor to be here with all of you tonight on the traditional territory of Treaty 6, where the Métis people of Alberta share a very deep connection with our land. My friends, I have to say, it's on nights like tonight that I'm very glad that we expanded Alberta's craft beer industry. So yes, tonight's result is not the one that we hoped for or worked so hard for. But you know, as I look out at all of you, I am filled with an enormous sense of gratitude and pride. Gratitude. For my team, a more dedicated group of public servants you will never find. And to all of them, particularly those who are not returning to the legislature, you have my eternal thanks. And I want to offer my thanks from the very bottom of my heart to the thousands of over-caffeinated, under-showered, and overworked volunteers and staff who did us so proud. My friends, 4 years ago, Albertans hired us to do a very big job at a very difficult time. And we did that job with purpose. And we did it with integrity.
All right, there you go. That's the leader of the opposition, the leader of the NDP party, making her concession speech. And we'll be right back here on Decision 2019. Welcome back. Chat News, Decision 2019, and our remaining couple of minutes here with Barry Finkelman. So the question that Jason Kenney started off with during the debate was, are you better off 4 years ago? Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? So the next time that he debates, is he going to be standing up there bragging about how better off we are than 4 years ago? Or under his rule, does Alberta have a chance of being better than everybody's next door cousin?
Now, that's a loaded question, but it's going to depend on how he behaves. Jason Kenney has an attitude of being a bulldog. He wants to be the, as I said, the schoolyard bully, and that is not going to wash with the other premiers and with the federal government. So I think he's going to have to be very cautious. He's going to have to be very strong, and he's going to have to be conciliatory, because this is Canada. This is not a battlefield. And he may come out swinging, but he's going to find that that's a very difficult way to run a province and to make the country work for you.
All right, so the UCP, 87 ridings reporting they will be the majority government over the course of the next 4 years, with the NDP, 26 seats for the NDP, 61 for the UCP. And obviously, Mr. Kenney is going to have to work at least for the next few months with Justin Trudeau after everything that he said about Mr. Trudeau during this election. Is that relationship repairable?
It's going to be very interesting, because, you know, they're saying, Notley said that it looks like we're going to have some sort of decision on the pipeline early in May.
Yeah.
If that happens, then he's going to have to work with the feds in order to make it work and bring it forward. He wants jobs. That's the key to jobs if the pipeline is the way to go.
Right. So over the course of 2 hours, you've offered some great analysis on everything this evening. We're not looking specifically right at the numbers. We're looking at the ridings and a lot of the votes that have come in. What are you looking forward to when you wake up tomorrow as you look further and deeper into this election?
Well, people have made a decision that they want a UCP government. There have been a lot of steps. There have been a lot of missteps over the time. There have been some bozo moves, as they said, and we're going to have to see the government take an effort to move forward in a positive way.
Okay. Barry, thanks for being here tonight.
My pleasure.
All right, I'm Dan Reines. Thank you very much for watching Decision 29 here on Chat Television. Almost everybody who works in this building is here tonight helping us out. So thank you to all of them. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back at noon tomorrow with Chat News at noon. Have a great night, and again, thank you for being with us tonight.